Hey guys, in this video I want to discuss with you one of the most important things when you want to learn a language, your motivation behind it all. Okay, what drives you to engage in such a project? I'm going to help you think about your motivation and your real objectives. At the end of this video you'll also know the motivation on this side of the connection. First I'll show you something from real motivation. This is real motivation, right? Hello. You are motivated to be happy, and that's good, it works. So, my motivation, you will also find out um, in this video a little bit at the end. But now let's focus on your motivation. Okay, you want to be able to communicate better. This is at your work or in your studies, maybe with your loved one or loved ones or friends. If you live abroad, right, this can be helpful when you want to communicate with people in the city, so your neighbors or at a shop or when you go to a bar or restaurant. Okay, so think about your motives, why you want to learn a language. These may be rational, functional reasons, right? Your choice may depend on, um, for instance, doing better at your job and creating more professional opportunities, right? You can have a better understanding with your partner and loved ones, or a rational motivation can be better contacts or more friends, although more friends is getting close to emotional motivation, right? Because I think feelings are a key factor that drive our actions. And once you know the emotional drive behind your motivation, behind your desire, then you can use it when learning a language because things will get tough, and especially then you will have to tell yourself or ask yourself, that's the thing, do I really want this and why do I want it? Because if you tell yourself or if someone else tells you, you know, we all had those teachers in school, um, or your parents told you had to do something, or your boss tells you to do something. Well, is that real intrinsic motivation? Maybe it's just from the outside, right? Extrinsic. Good. Okay, so you have to ask yourself why that is, and maybe it's an indirect one. Maybe your boss or whatever, um, some extrinsic motivation um, exists first, but then you have an intrinsic motivation because you want to actually answer to their needs, right? Because you want to have that job for another reason, or because you love your partner, or whatever your intrinsic motivation is. Okay, well, we may have hidden motives too, and as you might expect, you cannot actually know them, or maybe they can become conscious, or maybe you can become conscious of them, but obviously that's a more tricky one. But they might have to do essentially with feeling better about yourself, or feeling better in the situation. Um, but you have to get your motivations straight, clear for yourself. What are they? And think about the feelings that you have when you reach your goals, um, in the relationships or contacts, at least, with the people in the language that you want to learn, and think about what you can achieve with that, right? Both practical, functional reasons, as well as how do you feel about that when you reach that objective. And this applies for many things, not just for learning a language. Um, but you also have to ask yourself, am I just creating a dream, or is this a dream and am I living it? Because if you want to learn the language to simply convince yourself that you can speak the language, I have made that mistake many times. Um, and it's fine, if you tell yourself, like, yeah, I'm gonna do this course, and maybe you're doing it to feel better or to engage with other people. A lot of expats, international students, immigrants start the language course because they want to get to know people in the city, and that may be a very clear objective or it may be a hidden motive. It doesn't matter. If you enjoy it and if you're willing to spend time and money on that, then I might say you shouldn't. I actually would encourage you to do that. But it could be helpful for yourself to know what drives you, because, like I said, at some point, things won't be that easy, and then you have to tell yourself, or ask yourself, why am I doing this? And you will need the answer to that to find the energy to continue or to actually stop it. And a lot of people, including myself, by far, or not by far, I've had many situations that I start something and engage into a new sport or whatever project or language, and then just drop out because, in my case, it's usually because there's a new language or a new project that is asking for my attention or that I feel more energy for. And I've seen a lot of language learners that stop after the first course, which is fine if that is your initial objective, or if you have reached your goal and now you care about something else. But it's good to know beforehand that this might be coming up if and make sure that your dream becomes a reality or that you should not engage in it at all, or alternatively that you accept the fact that you will stop it at some point. Any of these three situations is probably the case, so it can be helpful to know which one is yours. um, Okay, so I already compared it to sports a little bit, or it's like quitting smoking. A lot of people can say, "Oh yeah, I want to quit smoking." Well, that's great, but is it really true? Do you really want to quit smoking, involving the difficulty that it may um, that may arise? I have quit smoking several times. So you could say I became good at it. No, but seriously, this has been already like 10 years ago, so now I can say I successfully quit. But the first few times were really different than the last time, not just in the effect that I was too good at quitting, so I just quit quitting and then I started smoking again these first times. No, but because I believed in that dream. And of course, it can be really good for your self confidence to believe in a dream, but you have to profoundly ask yourself, are you willing to give up certain things? Or what is the real motivation? And of course, you can think of health or money in terms of quitting smoking. And when it comes about learning a language, it could be, okay, I want to have better job opportunities, or I want to have more contacts in the city I live in as an expat, or immigrant, or international student, or whatever. But you have to really dig into that inner motivation, that drive inside yourself, and think and feel, why do I want this? And do I want it? Because if you really want it, you can achieve it. I believe in that. Even if you're older, even if you don't have so much time, of course, you need a certain amount of time. Um, it you don't need a lot of money, but money has to do with investing of someone else investing time in you. So that means you will have to invest a lot of time in it and have a lot of discipline and motivation. We'll talk about that in a second. Um, but you have to really get clear if it's really an objective for you, because if it's just your conscience saying, oh yeah, I want to learn Italian, or I want to be able to speak Portuguese. I've done that so many times, and in fact, um, I'm doing it every day because I'm telling myself, yeah, I want to be a polyglot. I want to learn, or I want to be able to speak so many different languages. And I know that it is a dream that I'm keeping there for myself. Um, but you can actually realize it by doing it, and that's the main lesson for me, and maybe for some of you as well. Um, so, yeah, why do we have this characteristic that sometimes we um, make it seem like it's a reality already when we say, oh yeah, I'm gonna start this course, or I'm gonna learn this language, or whatever? Well, I don't know. And maybe just because we want to feel better about ourselves, or maybe it's has some practical function in biology or in societies that otherwise we would never even start and engage in such a huge project. Um, Maybe it's a functional characteristic that we have. Um, I have it more often than not that I start in a huge project, and people consider me crazy when starting a lot of things like businesses or writing a book or buying a certain house or engaging in some big project, or learning different languages. And that's true. I mean, you cannot have it all. So I cannot learn 20 languages and speak them fluently. Um, but sometimes you just need to have that little sparkle, the energy that drives you to do something, because it's just a lot of fun, because it creates feelings of happiness. And I think you also need that energy to engage in a project in a bigger objective that you have, because otherwise you would never start it. And I will probably not never be able to speak 20 languages at a high level. So obviously I'm already very happy when I speak them at a beginner's level, and even 10 is a good objective. But I have to tell myself that um, I am taking it seriously, because otherwise I'm not starting it, and I will actually have to do it. And that's also my message to you. You have to, once you have your motivation clear, um, you have to set those objectives, and you have to do it. And in the case of language learning, even more so, because how can you learn to speak a language? By actually speaking it. And of course you need lessons, but you also need to speak the language. Okay. um, it will especially be useful later on when your initial motivation falls away, because or how do you say, drops, because it's very hard. Then you will need to rely, not to feel that original motivation. Okay, so do you still want to learn other languages? I hope I didn't demotivate you. I hope I can motivate you with this and more videos. I could be your coach, in fact. Um, do you actually need a coach or teacher? I think most people do. Um, all the language learners that I've met do, and all the other people that have asked me, do I need a language teacher? And I gave them the options of a language teacher or without. You know, I think we all do, because self study can work, but you need so much motivation and discipline, and if and structure, uh, and a method that you believe in. You have to believe in yourself, and yeah, we are creatures of habit. It's very difficult to get something in your routine just by yourself. You can probably relate to that when thinking about other objectives you had when it comes to sports or learning a musical instrument or engaging in other major activities. If you are a good self-learner and good at self-discipline, then do it. But for me, for instance, these videos are also structure for me to engage in the field. So I want to help people by making those videos, but I also want to make the videos in other languages, so that I force myself to speak the languages that I want to learn to speak. Okay, so I will create videos, make text, prepare text beforehand, translate that text, so that way I will write in languages, speak in these languages, and I will also read in those languages about it, and hear listening to videos about it, and converse with other natives, with natives of those languages. So that's my motivation and my structure, using those videos and other things that I will tell you about later. Um, yeah. Um, what do I want to say more? Yeah, I can also be your coach, so I can be your coach in those videos. I'm going to make a lot of more videos about language learning and about languages in general, and maybe about the language that you want to learn. And also, I could be your coach in real life. So, what does in real life mean? Physical lessons. I am also giving you that. But in real life or physical is still not really clear, because even if it's online, that's still a real life on both sides, and uh, yeah, I think it's still physical, and it's in the real world offline, I could say. It's also not really physical or face to face, because you don't glue your face to your teacher's face, or it's not really physical as in we're touching each other or you have to run kilometers. Although it's an interesting one to think about, to combine language with sports. But that's also not for this video. Um, no, but I can give virtual lessons as in on Skype, for instance, and in Amsterdam or Barcelona or another city that I visit, I can also teach people in real life, face to face, physical, or better say offline. I don't know, whatever you prefer. Um, so why are those lessons important, and especially with some kind of teacher and coach? Not just for the input. Obviously, a teacher can help you to get knowledge across in a lesson. You obviously need that input, but apart from the input, you also need to practice. So you need a safe environment to practice with a teacher or other speakers, right? But there are more things than just getting across knowledge as input and practicing as your output in this safe environment. You also need a structure, and a structure as in maybe you're going to have 3 lessons a week, or a daily, even better, a daily moment to learn and practice this language. You need that structure, and that's why self-study is really difficult, even with great applications that I'm also using, such as Duolingo. It's difficult to maintain it, but I'll also talk about Duolingo in another video. You need a method, right? So your coach or teacher can help you with a method. I will share that in future videos, and you can be critical about that method and see what you like about it, what you don't like about it. We can discuss various methods. Okay, and apart from that knowledge input, that practice in a safe environment, and the structure that you can have in a lesson, and the method, you also need the belief in that method, because just the method is one thing, but you actually have to rely on it and think, okay, when I invest time in this, then it has to be into a method that someone has thought about, for a long time. And I can tell you, I have thought about it for a long time. It's my main passion in life, and it's also my profession, language education, and the field that I've been working in for many years now. So you have to have um, belief in that method and believe in yourself. I mean, it sounds very, oh, you have to believe in yourself, but it's really true. Otherwise, all the energy is wasted. So you have to build that self-confidence, and obviously, self-confidence is quintessential when it comes to language learning and practicing or trying anything new, really. And obviously, we will grow that self-confidence by giving you inputs, because some people really need a lot of grammar, vocabulary, and of course the practice, the training in speaking, writing, reading, listening, apart from that vocabulary and grammar, using that to build up that confidence. But you will have to try and practice. It can be in a safe environment first with our videos. You can use those, and maybe you're going to have additional lessons, but you will have to try and practice. Get it out of your head. Don't just see grammar lists in your mind. Don't just try and study vocab in lists, and don't. It's good to construct sentences in your head. That's already one way of practicing, but you will also have to utter that language. If you don't like this piece of advice, then you will have to consider it as true, because if you don't like speaking that language, well, then you will have that problem even after 1,000 lessons. So that means the problem lies somewhere else. Maybe the problem is putting yourself in a vulnerable position. Most language learners, speakers, hate to put themselves in a vulnerable position. In fact, I have this problem in most sentences. Um, Even in English, I'm making a lot of mistakes, and I'm aware of that. And I will make videos in other languages, but every time I'm aware of the mistakes, or if not those particular mistakes, the fact that I am making a lot of mistakes. But believe me, it is a necessary step in order to get a better level, and you will feel more confident if you reach a better level and make less mistakes at the same time. So it has to um, you have to build it up bit by bit. Like now, I don't even know how the sentence is gonna end, but you have to build self-confidence, build vocabulary, build grammar knowledge, and practice all that by helping each other. So I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but you have to build vocabulary and grammar in order to construct sentences. You have to be able to utter a lot of you have to utter a lot of sentences in order to build up confidence. You have to have more confidence in order to learn more and speak more. So this way it will all help one another, hopefully. And yes, I believe there is no ideal method, but you will just have to stick to one and go for it. Obviously, there are um, better and worse methods, but we'll talk about that in another video. So now we've talked a lot about motivations, and now let's do it, right? Why? Well, because you shouldn't kill the initial energy by overthinking things too much. Instead, you should use every bit of that energy because it's gonna be hard, especially later on. In order to learn that language, let's just go for it because you need to practice. You need to learn it and practice it. Okay. Um, and you have to start learning the language by telling yourself you speak the language a little bit already. Yeah, that's a weird one, right? Well, I believe that after the initial greetings and introducing yourself, you really need to learn that sentence. I speak a little bit of English, or ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch, or hablo un poquito español, or one that is particularly difficult for me, jag talar en lite svenska, or jag talar väldigt lite svenska. As you can hear, I don't speak that language, really. I don't really speak it. But that's how I got to learn to speak a bunch of other languages by just saying to the speakers that I speak the language a little bit, and by introducing myself, and by greeting people, or thanking them, or showing them where to take the bus. Like if tourists in Amsterdam ask me for directions, and then instead of answering them in English, I just switch to Italian or Spanish or French. Not always, of course. I'm also choosing the easy way out many times. But I know that if you do, I'm making the mistake to switch to English or Dutch every day. But I know that if and once I choose for the target language that I want to learn, then I will be able to speak that language at some point, or obviously it's incremental. Great, so now let's actually have those lessons. You can join me and watch those videos that I'll make about language learning in general, and watch some specific videos about languages and maybe your target languages amongst those. I hope so. You can join me in my process of learning languages, so I will take you onto that process by recording all those videos about language learning, the way I do it, the way I think that people can learn a language, and I will show you all the difficulties, all the obstacles that come across in my process. So hopefully that will help you in seeing how difficult it can be, but also how I deal with those obstacles, because I've done it many times. I've learned about 10 languages, and obviously I don't actually speak them, but I'll show you how I think it worked and how I failed in learning other languages. Yeah, I will make those videos in several languages because, as I told you, that is my objective, and also it will be my structure. So we're basically helping each other, right? I'm making those videos, and the content hopefully will motivate you and give you a structure to learn languages, and actually give you language lessons, but they are also a motivation for me and a structure for me to learn and speak my languages that I want to learn and improve. Okay, so now we've talked about all this motivation. The reason why I want to learn languages, by the way, is because I want to connect to people. It is some inner drive, some feeling that, you know, everybody should connect with everybody in the world. Yeah, I know it's a bit of an idealistic thought that maybe not so realistic in times of war, but you know, that's some inner drive that I have when I speak to some lady in a Chinese shop, or when I meet Catalan people in Barcelona, or you know, even I want to learn Swahili or Sanantongo, or obviously some bigger languages, you know, such as Spanish or Chinese, etc. Okay, and why? I don't know. It gives me a better feeling about myself, and when I connect to those people, I can also see uh, that it does something to them. Even if you only speak 10 words in their language, you really get to connect to people, and they love it because they feel respected, or they feel heard, or you know, they no, not hurt, but listened to. And I don't know, it creates a special connection. So that's what I love. But okay, maybe you have another motivation, as long as it works for you. um, what do I have here? Another practical reason for me to make the video is to show my language learners. Um, oh yeah, right. To get some to show my language learners. No, I wrote it down here, but I have some language learners in the real lessons, right? Offline, virtual, and virtual lessons, um, and then I can just show them. You know, introduce them about me, my lessons, motivation, learning languages, Dutch and other specific languages. And those videos can actually help me, hopefully, to get some other learners, some other students that I can coach and teach. So that would be great. Okay, yeah, so I hope you will join me in my process, and I hope that you will be watching my videos, because it will help me, and it can help you. I have really learned a lot of languages, and I've worked as a teacher, as a coach. I've sold language courses to many people. I've sold language study material to language learners and teachers. I've worked for the biggest companies worldwide and the most famous ones in my country. Um, so yeah, I think I can be of help, and don't forget about the motivation, because I'm a good motivator. I hope you can find your motivation, and if I get to know you personally, or you know, you can write in something in the comments below, or you can contact me, then I can also motivate you personally, because I don't know, I like doing that. I guess also because of the contact with people, but because everyone has a motivation, and you know, you just have to discover it, and then just live it, and then just be reminded of it. Okay, well, I hope you will enjoy it, because that can always be a very, very, very good, extremely good motivator. So, hope enjoy your language lessons, and see you in the next video.